imitate, assimilate, innovate. This trio of words, cherished by musicians and educators worldwide, encapsulates the guitarist's journey from student to artist. Our guitar heroes inspire and drive us to imitate their playing as accurately as possible. Assimilating their teachings, we construct a foundation of skills, techniques, and vocabulary. This groundwork rewards us with creative freedom to innovate, nurturing our unique sound and artistry. Join us this month as we celebrate guitar heroes and legends that have inspired and influenced many of our own TrueFire artists and educators. You just might discover a few new guitar heroes and legends to add to your own list. Let's dig in. Known as the King of the Blues, B.B. King was a master of the electric guitar and a true ambassador for the genre. With his signature vibrato and expressive phrasing, King's playing was both powerful and emotive. His influence on blues music and his ability to evoke raw emotions through his guitar made him an inspiration for countless guitarists worldwide. Today's free lesson on B.B. King is from Matt Schofield's Guitar Heroes course. Let's dig in.
B.B. King. It all starts with B.B. King for me, and whether you realize it or not, for you as well. For most guitar players these days, electric guitar B.B. is at the root of so much that we all do, be it kinds of vibrato that we use, or bending, or the tone, the approach. He is ground zero for electric guitar for me. And of course, he had his influences. There were the people that he came from: T-Bone Walker, Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Lonnie Johnson. Those he always cited as his biggest influences. All great players worth checking out. But really, electric guitar, blues, and subsequently rock guitar really come out of B.B. and the things he brought to the instrument. He was the first person to make it really sing like a voice, to vocalize on the guitar rather than playing kind of little rhythm parts or simpler lines. You know, he made it scream. He was the first person that really made me want to play guitar. I had a video of a video cassette back in those days of B.B. that my dad recorded off British TV. It was 4 or 5 tunes from a concert in 1984, and I was just really getting into this kind of music. Couldn't play much guitar at all. I knew the cowboy chords, you know, and that was it. And I would watch this video of B.B. every day before school. 11 years old, and mesmerized, you know, but I didn't know how to even begin. I wanted to be doing what he was doing. I wanted to play guitar like that, but I didn't know where to start. So I got a bass first, because I thought, well, I don't know if I can play guitar like B.B. King, but maybe I could play bass in his band one day. So I got a bass first, and I started working on that, but the desire to be like B.B. was too strong, and eventually I started trying to figure out his incredible playing from this video, and then listening to the records that my dad already had of B.B. And, you know, it was, where do you start? It was so incredibly majestic. So he made it look so easy and so fluid and skillful, and between his vocals and his guitar, you know, there was no difference. They were all part of the same incredible thing. I remember being there as a kid, and you know, only knowing the open chords, and then he's playing up here somewhere, you know, all over the neck like that. It was incredible. I really tried to get going. He was the one that really set me going. And I was lucky enough to end up being on the same festival, the North Sea Jazz Festival in 2011, with him. Seen him live many, many times before that, from being much younger, you know, from probably 13 or 14 years old when I first saw him live. Saw him many times, but finally shared the bill with him in 2011, and I got him to sign my guitar because I had to, you know. So he was very gracious, very warm and encouraging, and invited me into his dressing room to hang out. He just knew I was a young guy that loved his playing and was playing with my blues band on the festival, and he reached out and invited me to spend some time with him. So I'm forever grateful for that memory, one of the most special moments of my life and career, you know. And not a day goes by where B.B. King's not in my head, you know. Not barely a day goes by where I don't listen to him, and certainly a day doesn't go by where I don't think or hear his music in my mind. It's informed so much of my music, way beyond guitar playing, and as a person as well. His graciousness and generosity and warmth to me and countless others, the stories that I've heard from everyone, I've never heard a bad word said. I carry that with me when I'm on the road and touring, and you know, when it's time for me to meet people after my show and take time and give people a moment, I think of how gracious BB was to me, and try and pass that on as well. So beyond just a guitar influence, an influence in life and an inspiration as a human being. Incredible. When you think about what he came through, starting out on a plantation in Mississippi and working his way up to Memphis, and finally, you know, king of the blues all over the world. An incredible journey that I don't think many of us today would even be able to imagine the kind of journey that he had to take to live the incredible life that he did. So let's talk about BB's guitar playing. Watching that video as a kid, as I say, he was playing all over the neck, you know, and getting around. I'd never seen anybody do that before. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on there. Of course, it's what now many of us know as the BB box. And that was a sound that immediately became compelling to me, and it's still a large thread in my playing today. It's a major pentatonic sound. So we know the BB box if we're in the key of G right now. Let's do that. So there's our G on the B string, and it's the kind of major sound like that. You could actually say that BB's playing Mixolydian a lot of the time, but it's not really about that. It's about knowing that sound in your ear and where to find it. But our starting point for that is, I would say for BB, is on the B string and the root note there in this case. And after the BB box, the first thing I think of with BB King is the vibrato. I kind of absorbed it myself, and I'm often approximate it. But nobody can do it like BB. He had that way of his whole hand was free of the neck. It was from the wrist, and it just can go on and on and on. As he said, with a little volume, can just keep going with it. But it's the first finger is what we're using, and that's what's that's the real BB vibrato that I think of is using your first finger. And so it's using the first finger. That's the what makes BB's vibrato distinctive, is this one that he does with his first finger, and it's, you know, it's relaxed and gentle, but it's confident and consistent, you know. So as I say, no one can do it like him, and but we can try and get that same effect in our own playing, you know. Just as even as you can get it. And often then we're raking with this hand to put some body behind the note. So you know, is different than, so you'd put in that sound in with the note, you know. So if there's one thing to take away from BB more than anything, is how beautiful that vibrato is, how much it makes the guitar sing. And as I was saying, really, he was the first person to really sustain notes that sung like that with the vibrato. He said he was trying to make it sound like a slide. His cousin Booker White was a Delta blues player and played slide, and they get the bottleneck sustains the note. That's what BB was trying to emulate in his own way. So as we try and do now, he took that idea and applied it to his own music in his own way, and it ended up being completely unique. So all these concepts, it's important to remember, they're not about copying, they're about being informed and inspired by, so that you can take the idea and use it in your own way. And we're so lucky that BB created so much of this stuff so that we don't have to, we can just learn from all the amazing things that he created. So that vibrato, you know, you just want to sit and work with it, really, just make until you get a nice feel for it, you know. After I think of BB's vibrato, I think of his bending. He really was one of the first guys to bend more than like a quarter step. His hero, T-Bone Walker, wonderful player, was playing along the lines of that's a T-Bone-y type line. And as you can see, T-Bone would be bending just about little quarter note bends like that. Big influence on Chuck Berry as well, T-Bone Walker. But BB came along, and for the first time, you start hearing this kind of thing. And these are much bigger crying, singing bends. It all goes towards that vocalization of the guitar that he really brought to life. So the classic one is a whole minor third bend. If you're not used to bending this much, it's going to work your fingers out a little bit. But again, staying in the key of G here, I'm taking the 10th fret and I'm bending up to the F. So I'm bending the D to the F. That's the classic BB bend, I would say. And each one, you know, it's about trying to get the feel in there, and they want to sound like they're reaching. They want to sound like they're you know, yearning. This is the voice via the instrument. So it's not about rushing. It's about really reaching with the bend. And that's the classic BB sound to me. One other interesting bending feature that I've taken from BB, because we're in that position in the BB box here, he would bend with his first finger as well on the high E, so something like again, something that might be slightly uncomfortable at first if you're not familiar with bending with your first finger, but it adds a bend in an unusual place in the fingering that, you know, because normally you're bending with your, more often you'll find yourself bending with your third finger, you know, with the full fulcrum of your hand. But to go. Something to really work on until you've got the strength to do these things smoothly. You know, BB's all about smooth and classy sounding. So often he gets talked about as being the master of playing one note, which is true, but I feel that does him a disservice. He was an extremely sophisticated player, very inspired by jazz. In fact, you could say his music really is a mixture of deep blues, Delta blues, Mississippi, where he grew up, and then bigger band jazz stuff of the era that he grew up in, you know. And he always had the horns in the band, always had the big band. It was always swinging. It was bright sounding music, you know. It wasn't. It was uptown, as they call it, BB. So it was very, very sophisticated. And he would include sort of lines inspired by his heroes, such as Django Reinhardt and Charlie Christian. One of my favorite things he does is the way he'll approach a 5-chord. And I've really taken this approach in my own playing. It was hugely inspirational. So let's go to the key of C for a second here. When that, say we're on a slow blues, for example, that 5-chord comes around, he might play a little line like, when the 5-chord comes around, and it's a beautiful melodic way. He'll play right out of the 5-chord. Or maybe something. Beautiful melodic lines. Again, it's always like trying to get it to sing with BB. That's really the takeaway from his playing. BB was also the first guy I ever heard playing diminished lines. That was a big ear opener for me. He would often use the diminished arpeggio, something that his heroes Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian used, and again, very sophisticated sound. It's staying in the key of C. To the 4-chord, he might play something back to the 1 like that, a little diminished arpeggio. So that's using it as a little ramp back and forth between the 1 and the 4, something that Robin Ford went on to expand on a lot in later years with his half-step, whole-step, similar concept. BB's is a kind of earlier version of that, using the diminished arpeggio. But leading back and forth from the 4-chord. And it's a really, really great way to join up those changes. And BB was the first person I ever heard doing that, and the first time I tried to get to grips with that concept was from him. There's so many great BB King records. He made hundreds of records, and I have a lot of them. I also have collected hundreds of live recordings of BB from various sources. I'm a freak, you know. But I would recommend, if you don't have these in your collection and you're at all interested in playing blues guitar in any way, then you must have Live at the Regal, The whole record is incredible, just from the crowd, the vibe. It's 1964 in the Regal Theatre in Chicago. The girls are screaming, the band is killing, his tone is incredible. Everything about it, the performance. Live at Cook County Jail is also an amazing record that I love very much. I think I heard that one first. My dad had that one. Mostly slow blues on that. Again, killer tone. Both of those are must-haves. I love Blues is King as well. Blues is King record. If you listen to that, I think you would agree that Peter Green must have listened to that record. And there's a couple of tracks where the tone is exactly like Peter Green was going for. So I think that's where it came from. Another B.B. King record that I really love is Blues on Top of Blues. It's great production, it's got big horn section, and it's got some really cool songs like Heartbreaker and I believe Paying the Cost to Be the Boss is on that one originally. And another one I listen to a lot is a thing called Easy Listening Blues. It's an all-instrumental record quite early on, very early 60s, maybe late 50s. Just great guitar playing on all these kind of little instrumental tunes. Easy Listening is a misleading title, perhaps, but they're pretty mellow, kind of like laid-back shuffles. I love that record. So those will get you started for the classic B.B. King, and they're a treasure trove of inspiration. B.B. remains perhaps my biggest core influence, even though hopefully I don't sound just like him, because I'm aiming to sound like me, which is... He also inspired me to sound like myself, because with all the guys that we're going to talk about in this course, the beauty of them is they have such a distinctive sound. You can put them next to each other and you would not mistake one for another in a million years. And that's where we're trying to position ourselves, so that if I found myself in a lineup with them, I wouldn't just be playing their licks. I'd be playing from my own vocabulary, which was inspired by them, but brought around to use in my own way. And that's the great gift that these great original blues players have given us, the ability to learn from what they've done and include it in our own playing. And B.B. certainly has given me endless inspiration and an incredible gift. So thank you, B.B.